Hey, welcome back to A Song Between. Today we're talking about how do you fight idolatry during isolation. So let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Gray Ewing. I'm the pastor of New Valley Downtown, a church in Phoenix, Arizona. And we are continuing in our study of the Psalms while we are quarantined, while we are isolating, sheltering in place, whatever you want to call it. We aren't gathering together as a church, but we are gathering together around the scriptures. And so we've looked at the Psalms of Ascents, Psalm 120 through 134. Today we're picking up Psalm 135, and we hope to go through the end of the Psalter through 150th Psalm. So I hope you join us for that. And today we're going to be reading some sections from Psalm 135, a beautiful psalm, although it's a challenging one. It's about idolatry, about following other gods. And so these are words that we need to hear. I'm going to read just a few verses from Psalm 135. Would you quiet your heart, spend just a moment preparing yourself, and then I will read from Psalm 135. Let's quiet our hearts. For I know the Lord is great, and that our Lord is above all gods. Whatever the Lord pleases, he does, in heaven and on earth, in the seas and all the deeps. He it is who makes the clouds rise at the end of the earth, who makes lightnings for the rain, and brings forth the wind from his storehouses. He it was who struck down the firstborn of Egypt, both of man and of beast, who in your midst, O Egypt, sent signs and wonders against Pharaoh and all his servants, who struck down many nations and killed mighty kings, Sihon, king of Amorites, and Og, king of Bashan, and all the kingdoms of Canaan, and gave their land as a heritage to his people Israel. The idols of the nations are silver and gold, the work of human hands. They have mouths, but do not speak. They have eyes, but do not see. They have ears, but do not hear. Nor is there any breath in their mouths. Those who make them become like them. So do all who trust in them. This psalm is a psalm about idolatry, the tendency that is in every single human heart to set up other gods other than the one true and living God. And so what we need to see from this psalm is the way that we fight idolatry, especially during an isolated time like this, when all of our idolatries are maybe on display even more than they are normally. Maybe not. But how to fight that idolatry during isolation is to see a couple of different things from this passage. First, to see the sufficiency of the Lord in everything, and then to see the insufficiency of everything else, any other God that we might trust in. So first, the psalmist says, you need to see the sufficiency of the Lord. I know the Lord is great, the psalmist says. How is he great? He goes on to describe that the Lord is the king of nature and is the king of history. He's the king of nature. He does what he pleases in heaven and on earth. The seas and the deeps and the clouds and the lightning and the storehouses are all filled because of the Lord and what he does. He is over nature. He is also over history. He's the one who worked in Egypt, the psalmist says, who struck down man and beast. He's the one who secured the promised land for the Israelites. And so you see the psalmist is just waxing poetic about who God is. He is over everything. He covers everything there is to cover. The heavens, the earth, the seas, the deeps, history. And then he says, you need to see not just the sufficiency of the Lord, but the insufficiency of everything else. The idols that the nations make are silver and gold. They are the work of human hands, he says in verse 15. And then he goes on to describe how impotent these gods are. They have mouths, but they don't speak. They have eyes, but they don't see. They have ears, but they don't hear. The very thing that they're supposed to be providing, they are unable to provide. Man, the list could go on, couldn't it? We don't typically make idols out of silver and gold, but we certainly make idols out of most of the things that are in our lives. If we were to write this psalm today, we might say, we had worshiped money, but it didn't give us security. We worshiped free time, but it didn't give us the freedom that we thought it was going to give us. We had friends, but we were still lonely. I mean, the things that we think that will fill us in the end are not sufficient to that task. And that is the ultimate problem with idolatry. The ultimate problem with idolatry is not just that you're worshiping something other than the one true God. It is that. But it's also the fact that that thing, whatever it is not sufficient for what you ultimately need. That is only what the Lord does. It ends with a sober warning to us. Those who make them and those who trust in them become like them. We can become these impotent followers after idols. Now is the perfect time. We're isolated. We have a lot of free time. We have a lot of time to analyze who we are becoming, our habits, what we look to. I encourage you, don't just use this time longing to get back to the regular routine, back to the things that you were depending on, back to the money that you had, back to the time that you had, back to the sense of accomplishment that you felt at work. Those things are good gifts from the Lord, and they will come back in time. But now is a great opportunity to say, but how much have I been trusting in those things? Because they, at the end of the day, are not sufficient for what I need. Only the Lord is able to do that.